When athletes push their bodies to the absolute limit, some cough up a pink, frothy liquid. Their massive cardiovascular effort forces blood plasma to leak out of their vessels and into their own air sacs, causing them to internally drown. This happens because of a specific compromise in our biology. The blood-gas barrier in your lungs must be incredibly thin, so oxygen can instantly diffuse across. At the same time, it must be strong enough to contain the intense physical pressure of your beating heart. That architectural trade-off is ancient. Our lungs share the exact same microscopic structure as primitive lungfish from over 400 million years ago. As mammals evolved warm-blooded metabolism, we required a massive increase in oxygen delivery. We developed high-powered dual-circuit cardiovascular systems to pump that blood, but we kept those ancient paper-thin lungs to absorb the oxygen. Between a rushing capillary and an air sac sits a 10.5 micrometer basement membrane. Per Laplace's law, slight pressure bumps cause exponential tension. As hydrostatic pressure spikes, the collagen scaffold snaps. Fractures rip open, spilling red blood cells directly into the lungs. The ensuing fluid backup, known as exercise-induced pulmonary edema, is a pure mechanical failure. The human body is acting as an engine pushed past its physical tensile limits. To see this mechanical failure at its absolute peak, we look to thoroughbred racehorses. Centuries of aggressive selective breeding have given them a cardiovascular engine that tests the boundaries of mammalian physics. Down the final stretch of a race, a horse's heart beats 4 times a second, driving over 400 liters of blood through its lungs every minute. That immense internal pressure routinely shatters their blood-gas barrier, causing widespread internal lung hemorrhaging in over 80. But our elite endurance athletes can still exert enough cardiopulmonary force to hit that exact same evolutionary ceiling. This data visualization illustrates the aftermath of a terrestrial endurance race. Radiographic scans of participants crossing the finish line at the Boston Marathon revealed that 46% of the runners had measurable fluid leaking into the interstitial spaces of their lungs. Even without coughing up blood, simply running at maximum effort allows the human heart to pump hard enough to mechanically overwhelm the architecture of its own respiratory system. This diagram outlines the Starling equation, the strict biophysical formula that determines exactly how much fluid moves across the pulmonary barrier. A key variable here is PC, or capillary hydrostatic pressure. During extreme exertion, the heart pumps massive volumes of blood to the muscles, aggressively elevating that hydrostatic pressure. That outward force shoves water, proteins, and plasma straight through the porous walls of the capillaries. Under normal conditions, the lungs' lymphatic system acts like a vacuum, sweeping up loose fluid. But under peak physical strain, the outward rush of plasma completely overflows the lymph network's drainage capacity. Maintaining dry lungs is a precarious mathematical balance between pressure and drainage, a balance that rapidly collapses under peak cardiac workloads. Moving from the track to the ocean introduces a new set of environmental stressors. Simply submerging the human body in water reconfigures the way blood moves through the chest and heart. Water is dense. When you jump in, it exerts a heavy compressive force on your arms and legs, instantly squeezing large volumes of peripheral blood out of your extremities and centralizing it directly into your chest cavity. Add the shock of cold water, causing blood vessels to constrict, and the tight neoprene wetsuit acting as a full-body tourniquet. Together, these external forces bottleneck your blood flow and sharply spike the pressure inside your pulmonary capillaries. This translates into swimming-induced pulmonary edema. Epidemiological data tracks this condition extensively in highly conditioned populations, appearing in up to 5% of Navy SEAL candidates during intense aquatic training. The water itself weaponizes the body's centralized blood volume. By squeezing blood inward while the athlete pushes their heart rate upward, the aquatic environment effectively fast-tracks the internal drowning process. The exact same mechanics occur in mountaineers. High-altitude environments force the pulmonary arteries to constrict, creating massive localized pressure spikes that physically tear the lung capillaries apart. Fluid in the lungs is usually associated with diseases like pneumonia or severe infection, where intense inflammation and chemical degradation rot the alveolar wall. Here, clinical samples taken from athletes show absolutely zero signs of inflammation. Because the root cause is entirely mechanical, the fix is straightforward. Doctors can administer pharmacological vasodilators, drugs that artificially relax and widen the blood vessels. By dropping the blood pressure, the hydrostatic forces pushing against the barrier disappear. Doctors seal the leak by adjusting the biophysics of the blood flow. Once the extreme physical exertion ceases and cardiovascular pressure normalizes, the lungs immediately go to work. The microscopic fractures in the basement membrane begin to close, smoothly pulling back together to reform a solid protective sheet. Our bodies carry an inherent biological contradiction. We evolved the cardiovascular ambition to run marathons, scale mountains, and dive deep into the ocean, all while relying on an ancient respiratory architecture built for a much slower world. Ultimately, this internal leakage stands as the physical proof that elite athletes are pushing the human machine to its absolute engineering limits.